we get to 1971, and Joe Colombo is shot in the head during a rally at the
an Italian American Pride rally.
It was it was a rally of the Italian American Civil Rights League.
Yeah.
So the Italian American Civil Rights League is interesting. It was a group created by Joe Colombo. And basically, when the newspapers were all accusing him of being a mafia boss, which he was. He was basically accusing the newspapers of being anti-Italian and saying that there is no mafia and that you guys are just racist against Italians.
Dude,
and I'm going to start this league, the Italian American Civil Rights League.
They're still using that defense to this day.
Yes.
Like a couple years ago, there was that Bonanno trial with Joe C.
Joe Messina?
No, Joe C. Joe Camerano Jr. And Porky, the underboss, the boss and the underboss. Porky was the conciliere. I think. Anyway, like, part of the defense literally was like, oh, because he's Italian and he looks like a mafia person, like he's guilty. Like, that was literally part of the defense.
Like, oh no, he killed 6 people.
Yeah, and like Joe Camerano Jr. is like on the record, like all over the place as having been the acting boss at the time. So like, it's a fact. It's not debatable.
No, exactly.
They won the trial. I don't know how. I guess they just didn't have the goods on them.
And another thing, this
was like 2018. It was like super recent.
So Joe Colombo with he had a crusade of trying to prove that anybody who was going up against the mafia was really just racist against Italians. And he's a producer on The Godfather. So it's interesting. And if you look at
that's crazy.
If you look at The Godfather,
I did know that, but I forgot.
If you look at The Godfather 1, he had control over the script. So
Joe Colombo?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Well, he had to kind of approve everything. So a lot of that stuff of just The Godfather, they portray the mafia how they wanted to be portrayed.
Exactly.
They're gentlemen gangsters, and also one of the rules was they were never allowed to say the word mafia in the movie.
In the movie, right? Yeah.
And if you watch them, they don't say it in the first one, but they say it in the second one.
Because he was
because
dead
the
already?
Second one he wasn't dead already. He was comatose.
Yeah. Which he eventually died.
Which eventually he does die. But Joe Colombo has this Italian American Civil Rights League.
Yeah.
All the other bosses hate it because he's bringing so much unwanted attention of this is supposed to be a secret society, and you're literally having marches in the street. You're literally having your guys outside of the FBI building marching with signs saying the FBI is anti-Italian.
Forever bothering Italians.
The FBI stands for Forever Bothering Italians. And the other bosses have a huge problem with this, and they
I wonder why.
They really want it to go away. So, in 1971...
The ego is a motherfucker, dude. The ego will fuck your ass up.
That's the thing. They tell him multiple times, we don't want you to do this anymore, and he keeps doing this.
Dude, the ego is undefeated.
And if you listen to Michael Francesi talk about it, he was like, we all kind of didn't want to do this either anymore. When he talks about
Mike Francesi was a kid at the time, and he was apparently handing out papers or something.
He was handing out papers,
pamphlets.
But they told pamphlets, but he was one of the guys outside the FBI building where Joe Colombo or whoever his captain was put on the sign that says the FBI is anti-Italian and you're gonna march in front of it.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not the worst PR idea, but it kind of is because you're just attracting attention to yourself regardless.
Right.
So even if it does work for the time being, then you have a target on your back because they're they're maybe gonna look at you more just if you fuck up.
But Joe Colombo he's having rallies and he's having speeches, And it's like the other bosses don't even really want people to know they exist. And here's
That's how
Joe
it's supposed to
Colombo.
be.
And here's Joe Colombo. He has this massive rally in Columbus Circle. And a man named Jerome Johnson, a black man, shoots him in the head. And the fact that he was a black guy is important because
they suspected
they suspect Joe Gallo.
Because Joey Gallo was known to
Joey Gallo,
work with black people.
He had black members of his crew. He had one. He had an alliance with kind of the black gangs that ran the Gowanus Project. He had alliance with Nicky Barnes, who ran Harlem. Him and his brothers in kind of South Brooklyn at this time, the police even brought them in to try to like ease tensions between the white and the black gangs, because they knew that the Gallo brothers.
They brought the Gallo brothers in.
Yeah. To ease tension between like the white and
to do what? Like
basically to like try to.
They brought them into the police
to try to like make pieces between the white and the black gangs in like South Brooklyn at that time. The like NYPD did. So like
but why would the Gallows like listen to the NYPD?
I don't know exactly why they did it. I know that like they did do it. Maybe it wasn't exactly a NYPD. Maybe it was like the youth board or something like that. But I know that like the Gallows had a long-standing relationship with the black gangs in New York.
Right.
So when Jerome Johnson is the shooter, all of the New York Mafia immediately expects Joe Gallo. So according to the official report of the NYPD, Jerome Johnson was a lone gunman. He had no association with any mobsters whatsoever, which is true. He was like a petty criminal, but he wasn't associated with like anyone in the mafia. Like he wasn't an associate of Joe Gallo. Frank DiMatteo, the way he tells the story is that Jerome Johnson, the other bosses of the New York Mafia, they wanted Joe Colombo dead, but they didn't want to take the blame. They wanted Joey Gallo to take the blame, so they used Jerome Johnson to be the shooter, knowing it would look like Joey Gallo did it.
Is that confirmed that that's what it was?
That's Frank DiMatteo. That's what he says.
So in other
words,
words, all of the families would have had to agree to that, though, in theory, right?
In theory, but
to kill a boss.
I don't know. I don't know, because Frank DiMatteo, that's another thing. He very much says like, look, this is what people on the street were saying.
Right.
You know, according to the NYPD's investigation, he was a lone gunman.
Right. But like, why would a lone gunman?
Yeah, exactly.
Kill...
But what is the motivation, though? You know.
Well, that's like, what I'm saying. There would be no motivation.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's a murder from 50 years ago.
Like, all signs point to it had to. Someone was behind that.
Another one of the theories was that it was Joey Gallo.
Apparently, there's a NASCAR race going on in the fucking neighborhood.
Another theory was that it was Joey Gallo, but that the other bosses had approached Joey Gallo to... They are drag racing.
Who the fuck is driving like this?
That the other bosses had approached Joey Gallo to whack out Joe Colombo because they didn't like Joe Colombo
I need you to
anymore.
whack off Joe Colombo.
That's the line. That was the line in Family Guy in the Mafia episode. Do you know that line where the Mafia guy says to Peter, "Is like, I need you to do a favor for me," and he's just like, "What do you need me to do? Whack a guy, off a guy, whack off a guy? Because you know I'm married."
I do remember that.
Well, they said that Joey Gallo did it. He had permission of the other bosses, but that the other bosses didn't like the fact that he killed him at a rally in front of a bunch of people.
Wait, Frank DiMatteo was saying that?
No. This was just another theory that, like, I have heard through other books. I believe in The Irishman. That's what the theory that they put forward.
And,
is that
well,
Joe Gallo
Irishman.
was behind the hit, but he had permission from the other bosses. But then when they saw how it was done...
Known factual historical document, The Irishman.